There are probably 1,000 better places a grown man could be on a Friday night than curled up inside a bedroom closet behind a row of fake designer handbags, holding his breath and clutching a velvet ring box. But there I was. Not because I'm some jealous psycho. Not because I was spying on my wife like some dollar store Sherlock Holmes. No, I was there because the closet door broke 2 months ago, and once you shut it, it only opens from the outside. Rachel was supposed to fix it. She said she'd call someone. She didn't. And now her forgetfulness had trapped me inside my own walk-in wardrobe while she was downstairs slow dancing with another man at our housewarming party. I had the ring in my pocket. Not for her. Not anymore. I was going to give it to her that night. That was the plan. A cute speech, some applause, maybe a few tears. Haley, her younger sister, was even helping me coordinate the moment. She was the only one who knew. But then I saw them. Through the slats of the closet door, which is how every great humiliation starts. I watched Rachel take off her heels, laugh at something Kyle whispered, and melt into his arms like she'd been waiting for that moment since forever. And me? I was surrounded by the smell of her old gym shoes and a purse full of protein bars she never ate. I don't even know why I stayed in there. I could have knocked. I could have shouted. I could have kicked the door off its hinges and demanded answers like a man with a spine. Instead, I sat, in silence, breathing through my mouth, listening to party music thudding through the floor and Rachel's laughter climbing the stairs like it was looking for me just to rub it in. I replayed it all, every excuse, every late night, every he's just a coworker lie wrapped in sweet nothingness. I believed all of it, not because it made sense, but because I wanted to believe it. Because what else was I supposed to do? I was 34, underpaid, slowly balding, and allergic to confrontation. When I tried to be assertive, I sounded like a nervous substitute teacher. I was the kind of man who texted, "No worries if not," after every sentence. And Rachel? She knew that. She bet on that. But she forgot one thing. Even soft men snap eventually. And in that closet, somewhere between the mothballs and the shattered pieces of my self-respect, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to ruin the moment she thought she was winning. And I knew exactly how. I stepped out of the closet like a man climbing out of a grave, stiff, humiliated, breath caught in my throat. My knees cracked from sitting in there so long. My shirt stuck to my back from nerves and sweat. I could still hear the music playing from the backyard speakers, some jazzy instrumental track that Rachel said gave the party class. There was nothing classy about what I saw 30 minutes earlier. My wife with her hand on Kyle's chest, whispering something that made him grin like he already owned her. I didn't storm downstairs. I didn't throw open the French doors and demand the room's attention. That's not me. I'm not some smooth, dominant movie character. I'm Milton Fraser, the guy who apologizes when someone steps on his foot. The guy who sends follow-up emails saying, "Just checking in," smiley face, even when he's clearly being ignored. But I had one thing she didn't know about. The ring. I bought it months ago. Not to propose again. We were already married. But to start over. A reset. A symbol of let's fix this. I was going to give it to her that night, with a speech I wrote on a wrinkled napkin I still had in my back pocket. I had even practiced it in the mirror. "We've had ups and downs," it began. "But if I had to choose again, I'd still choose you." God, I hate that version of me. I made my way to the hallway mirror. My face looked pale, haunted, but calm. Weirdly calm, like my heart had given up trying to panic. I straightened my collar, took a breath, and walked into the kitchen where Haley was refilling drinks. She spotted me immediately, her brow furrowed. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, lying with my whole face. "Can we talk?" We stepped into the side pantry, the one Rachel never used because she said the wallpaper was too depressing. Fitting. I closed the door behind us. Haley looked concerned, almost guilty, like she knew what I was about to say. "I saw them," I said. She didn't pretend to be confused. Didn't try to cover it up. She just sighed and leaned her back against the old wooden shelf. "I told her it was wrong. I told her to stop before you. Did you know it would be tonight?" "No, not like this." She said it was just dancing. Haley scoffed. "But I guess it never is just dancing, is it?" I pulled the ring box out of my pocket. Haley looked at it, confused at first, then horrified. "You were going to give her that tonight?" I was. "Now I want you to have it." "What?" "Not for what you think," I added quickly, seeing the panic in her face. "Not romantically. Not symbolically either. I want you to hold it for me. Because you're the only one in this house who hasn't lied to my face." She didn't know what to say. Neither did I. The silence sat between us, awkward but honest. For the first time in months, I felt like someone saw me. Not as a burden. Not as a sad, fading version of her sister's husband. Just as a person stuck in a situation he didn't sign up for. I handed her the box. She didn't want to take it, but she did. Carefully, like it was evidence in a trial. Then I smiled, not the fake kind I'd been wearing all night. A real one. A tired, cracked, war-torn smile. And I said, "Wait 5 minutes. Then give it to her. No note. No speech. Just the box." "What are you going to do?" I exhaled slowly. "Leave." But not quietly. She looked worried. I didn't blame her. And as I walked past the hallway full of guests, toward the open French doors, Rachel was still dancing with Kyle. Still laughing. Still spinning like she was the main character of a movie that had long stopped being about us. That's when I reached the edge of the patio. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just raised my voice enough to be heard over the music. "Rachel." She turned mid-spin, still smiling, until she saw my face and the empty space in my hand where the ring used to be. I didn't stay to watch her expression change. That wasn't the point. The drama, the confrontation, it wasn't for me anymore. I was done trying to make her feel anything. My goal wasn't to hurt her, not directly anyway. I just wanted her to finally see the wreckage she caused without another apology waiting at the end. So I walked through the garden gate, down the side of the house, past her car that I just had detailed last week because Kyle was allergic to pollen, and she didn't want him sneezing if she gave him a ride to the off-site meeting. I heard someone shout my name from behind. Might have been Haley. Might have been no one. I didn't stop to look. I couldn't. If I turned around, I was afraid I might change my mind. That I might break again. That the fragile shell of anger holding me together would shatter into pleading, spineless mush like it had too many times before. No. This time, I needed to keep walking. Meanwhile, inside the house, Haley did exactly what I asked her to do. No dramatics. No speech. She walked up to Rachel while the music still played and simply handed her the box. Rachel laughed, thinking it was a party favor or some kind of joke, until she opened it. Witnesses later told me she froze like she'd seen a ghost. The music didn't actually stop, it just felt like it did. A few guests noticed. A few more turned to look. Kyle, standing next to her, squinted at the little box like it was some unfamiliar threat. When Rachel saw the ring, her smile died mid-breath. She didn't say a word. She just slowly closed the lid and looked around the room like I might still be hiding in the shadows somewhere, waiting to humiliate her fully. But I was already halfway down the block, holding my phone, scrolling through old photos like an idiot. Beach trips, Halloween parties, her 29th birthday when I surprised her with that sushi boat she'd been hinting at for weeks. I didn't delete them. Not yet. I couldn't. My thumb hovered over the trash icon more times than I'd like to admit. But I just kept scrolling, torturing myself with a slideshow of everything I thought was real. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I should have let it go to voicemail. I wish I had. But part of me was still clinging to something. Some explanation, some plea, some final confession that might make it all feel less like a joke and more like a mistake. I answered. "Milton." It was Haley. Her voice was shaky. She didn't say anything. She continued before I could respond. She just walked away. Didn't even look at me. Just grabbed her bag and left. I stopped walking. She left the party? No. She left with him. That hit harder than I expected. After everything, after the photo, the dancing, the ring, she still chose him? I could feel the nausea crawling up my chest. The kind that doesn't quite make you throw up, just leaves you wishing you could. I leaned against a lamppost like some exhausted soap opera extra and tried to breathe. Haley kept talking. I didn't know she'd. I thought maybe this would snap her out of it. She looked angry, but not at you. At me. Like I was the one who. "You did fine." I cut in, voice tight. "This wasn't your job to fix." There was a pause. Then something in her voice shifted. "She's hiding something," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Just." When she looked at the ring, it wasn't surprise. It was like recognition. Like she knew this moment was coming. I didn't have a response to that. But the thought burrowed into my brain like a splinter. Had she planned for this? I started walking again. Aimless. Cold. The night suddenly too quiet. "I'll call you later," I said and hung up. A part of me wanted to scream. To go home and burn every trace of our marriage. To delete the photos, throw out the matching mugs, rip the shared laundry label off the basket. But another part of me, the tired, whiny, passive part, just wanted to lie down on a park bench and sleep until this all stopped feeling real. Instead, I walked to the only place open after midnight. A 24-hour diner. I sat in a booth by the window, ordered a milkshake I didn't want and fries I didn't eat. And I stared at the door like I was waiting for someone to walk through it. And 20 minutes later, someone did. But it wasn't Rachel. It was someone I hadn't seen in years. And they didn't come alone. The bell above the diner door jingled with that hollow, metallic tone that always sounds too cheerful for what life usually brings in. I didn't look up at first. I figured it was some couple out late or a tired trucker grabbing pie before hitting the highway. But then I heard my name. Not shouted. Not whispered. Just spoken. Like it was a fact hanging in the air. Milton. I looked up and blinked twice. It took me a second to place her. Longer still to process why she was here. Claudia Haverford. Kyle's ex-fiancée. I hadn't seen her in 3 years. The last time, she was helping him pick out cufflinks for a wedding he never went through with. They had been together for 6 years, engaged for 2. Then, out of nowhere, the engagement fizzled and Claudia vanished from our circle like a ghost politely excusing herself from a party she never wanted to attend. Rachel told me she'd moved to Oregon. Something about getting space, she'd said. She and Kyle weren't on the same page anymore. But now Claudia was standing in front of me in a beige coat and a nervous smile, like she'd just accidentally stepped into the wrong timeline. Claudia, I croaked, unsure if I was hallucinating from emotional exhaustion or if she was really here, in this no-name diner at 12:43 a.m. She slid into the booth across from me before I could ask anything. Her hands were shaking slightly as she removed her gloves. She looked good, not glamorous like Rachel or sleek like Kyle, but stable, worn in a way that made you trust her, like she'd been through things and had decided not to pretend otherwise. I know this is weird, she said, voice low, but I heard what happened tonight. Haley called me. My jaw clenched. Haley. She and I kept in touch. Quietly. After everything with Kyle. She didn't know who else to call. I stared at her. My brain still hadn't caught up. Why would she call you? Claudia exhaled and looked out the window like she was trying to delay what came next. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small black journal. Worn edges. A broken clasp. She set it gently between us. This was mine, she said. I kept it during the last year I was with Kyle. Before I left. Before he and your wife, you know. I don't know. I snapped a little too sharply. That's the problem. She didn't flinch. Instead, she nodded. Then maybe it's time you do. She opened the journal to a dog-eared page. There were dates, notes, little scribbled lines. She turned it toward me and tapped a specific entry. September 19th. Kay texted her again. She replied this time. I pretended not to notice, but it's eating at me. I read it twice. 3 times. Who's her? I asked, already knowing the answer in my gut. Rachel, Claudia confirmed, softly. They were talking long before anyone knew. Before we broke up. Before you married her. My spine stiffened. She was already with him? Claudia shook her head. Not physically, I don't think. But emotionally? Yeah. He'd bring her up. Say she understood him better. That she didn't pressure him the way I did. That sounded familiar. Rachel used to say that I didn't challenge her. That I made life too easy for her. Maybe that was her pattern. Always craving someone new. Someone outside the relationship to tell her what she wasn't getting, instead of facing what she was ruining. Claudia slid the journal back toward her. I'm not here to blow up your life. I just thought. Maybe you deserve to know that this wasn't some recent mistake. This was a slow-building decision. One she's made before. And if not with Kyle, then it would have been someone else. I leaned back in the booth, suddenly nauseous again. The fries were still untouched. The milkshake had melted into pink soup. How did you find me? I asked. She mentioned this place once, Claudia said. Said you come here when you're upset. Said it like a joke. I swallowed hard. Of course she did. Even my worst moments were just punchlines in her life. So what now? I asked. You give me the journal. I cry a little. You pat me on the hand. And we all go home? No, Claudia said. Now you decide if you're going to let her keep the narrative. Or if you're ready to take it back. I raised an eyebrow. You mean revenge? No, she said, firm. I mean clarity. Public clarity. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through a folder. Then she showed me a photo. It was grainy, like the one I'd been handed days earlier. But this one was dated over a year ago. Different city, different event. Rachel and Kyle. Together. And Rachel was wearing the same necklace she'd claimed was from an Etsy store, and just something she bought for herself. That necklace? It was Claudia's. My hand started to shake. You want clarity, Milton? Claudia asked, her voice now low, deliberate. Then give her what she gave you. Let her see what it feels like when secrets stop being secret. I didn't respond, but the look in my eyes, it wasn't the old Milton anymore. I didn't go home that night. I walked until my legs ached, then sat in my car outside a gas station, watching the streetlights blink like they were judging me. Claudia left the diner not long after our conversation. She didn't pressure me. She just said, "Text me if you want help," and left me with that journal and a silence loud enough to fill a stadium. The journal sat on the passenger seat next to me, like a tiny black bomb waiting to go off. Every time I glanced at it, I saw a different memory dissolve. Every time I reached for it, my hand pulled back like it was hot. I wasn't ready. Not yet. But I was ready for something. When I finally got back to the house, Rachel still wasn't there. Her car was gone. No note. No text. Just the smell of expensive candles burning out in empty rooms and a Bluetooth speaker still softly humming from the backyard. I stood in the kitchen like a stranger, looking at our framed wedding photo leaning slightly crooked on the shelf. I took it down, put it in a drawer. Didn't slam it. Didn't smash it. I just didn't want it looking at me anymore. Then I sat at the kitchen table and opened her laptop. I know. It's a violation. It's wrong. But so is gaslighting someone for 2 years and calling it growth. I didn't know what I was looking for, just that I was tired of living in assumptions and half-answers. I needed to see it. Not suspect. Not guess. See. The first thing I noticed was how clean her desktop was. Suspiciously clean. No folders, no files. Nothing but a wallpaper of a beach she'd never been to. But then I checked her email. Nothing too obvious there. Just boring threads, work memos, event reminders. Then I made the mistake of checking her drafts folder. And my stomach twisted. She'd written letters. To him. Not emails she meant to send. Letters she never meant to send at all. Or maybe she did, and just couldn't. Or maybe she kept them as trophies. There were 8 of them, all titled the same way. If I could say this out loud. I read the first one. You make me feel like I have a real identity. Like I'm not someone's wife, or someone's daughter, or someone's checkbox on a family spreadsheet. You make me feel alive, and I hate that I have to pretend it's wrong. I felt cold. Not angry. Just hollow. The second one was worse. Milton doesn't challenge me. He admires me. He tiptoes around me like I'm glass. And sometimes, I want to be shattered. Is that so horrible? I didn't read the rest. I clicked off. I closed the laptop. I sat with the kind of silence that feels like being trapped underwater. That's when the front door opened. Rachel walked in like nothing was wrong. Like the world hadn't just imploded inside our walls. She was in a hoodie and leggings, makeup smudged, hair in a loose ponytail. The "I'm just tired" look that used to make me want to hug her. Now it just made me want to disappear. "Oh, you're up," she said casually, setting down her keys. I didn't respond. She tilted her head. "You all right?" Still nothing. She gave a tiny sigh. "Can we not do this right now? I'm just tired. I had too much to drink." I didn't mean for tonight to get weird. It took everything in me not to scream. Not because I was angry, but because I was afraid that if I let one sound out, the rest would come flooding behind it. The sobs, the begging, the awful part of me that still, somehow, loved her. Instead, I asked, "Do you still have the necklace?" She froze. It was the only time she looked genuinely scared. "Which necklace?" "You know which one." A beat of silence. Then she lied. "No, I lost it months ago." I nodded slowly, like a man watching a card trick he already knew the secret to. That's when I stood, walked past her, and into the bedroom. I pulled Claudia's journal from my coat pocket and set it down on the nightstand. Didn't say a word, just left it there. I heard her footsteps behind me, then a quiet gasp when she recognized it. Her voice trembled. "Where did you get that?" I didn't answer. I was already halfway down the hallway again. She followed. "Milton, that's not what you think it is." I turned around for the first time, looked her dead in the eyes. "Then what is it, Rachel? A scrapbook? A keepsake from the man you were just co-workers with?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I nodded once. Then I walked to the coat closet, pulled out a duffel bag I hadn't touched in years, and started packing. "Where are you going?" she whispered. "Someplace where I don't have to wonder what version of me you're writing about next." She didn't follow me, didn't ask me to stop, didn't even say sorry. That night, I drove to a motel on the edge of town, the journal and the laptop in the passenger seat beside me. And as I lay in that stiff motel bed with buzzing lights outside and scratchy sheets under me, I made a decision. She'd written her story in drafts. Now I was going to publish mine for everyone to see. I didn't sleep that night, not even a second. The motel room smelled like someone else's regrets, cheap cologne and carpet mildew. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. Not the Rachel from the wedding. Not the Rachel in her bathrobe, making pancakes at 7 a.m. while humming some off-key song she never knew the words to. No, I kept seeing the Rachel from those drafts. The woman who wanted to be shattered. The woman who saw me not as her husband, but as a stepping stone between versions of herself. By 6:30 in the morning, I had the laptop open. My hands hovered over the keyboard. I didn't know what I was doing, not really. I wasn't a writer. I wasn't even particularly interesting. I was just some guy who got cheated on, then gaslit, then emotionally starved until he started thinking silence was love. But I could tell a story. So I did. I opened a blank document and began typing. It started simple. This is a story about a man who found a ring, a closet, and the truth, in that order. And then I poured. Everything. Not names. Not yet. I wasn't trying to ruin her life with slander. I was just giving facts. Screenshots of her messages to Kyle. Quotes from the unsent letters. Photos Claudia had given me, with timestamps. I blurred faces. I changed cities. But the emotional blueprint was undeniable. I posted it anonymously on a relationship forum I used to lurk when I was too afraid to admit something was wrong. It was one of those places people go when they need to scream into the void without anyone recognizing their voice. I titled it, "My Wife Called Me a Placeholder." So I made her look in the mirror. I expected maybe a few people to read it. A handful of sympathetic strangers. A couple angry comments from keyboard therapists. What I didn't expect was the post to blow up. By noon, it had over 18,000 upvotes. By evening, people were screenshotting sections and posting them on different platforms, calling it the slowest, most polite revenge arc ever. Somehow, that stung worse than I thought it would. Because even in my pain, I was still being called polite. Still the guy who held the door open while people walked out of my life. But then, something changed. At 8:04 p.m., I got a message request on my burner account. The username was unfamiliar, but the profile picture caught my attention. It was a blurry shot of the same conference room Rachel had once claimed she hated because the AC made her migraines worse. And in the background, Kyle, smiling, leaning close to someone. But not Rachel. The message read, "I don't know who you are, but I think your wife and my husband are sleeping together." My heart kicked against my ribs like it was trying to escape. I replied, "Tell me everything." She introduced herself as Evelyn. She was married to one of Kyle's colleagues, the kind of finance bros Rachel used to call expensive wallpaper. They had all been on a corporate retreat 3 months ago. Rachel wasn't supposed to be there. It was technically a closed leadership circle, but someone had pulled strings. Evelyn didn't think much of it at the time. Just one of those polished office blondes with too many buzzwords and a laugh you can hear through walls, she said. But things started to feel off. Late-night strategy sessions. Inside jokes that excluded the rest of the team. A room key that went missing and suddenly reappeared on Kyle's keyring. Evelyn had confronted her husband. He swore nothing happened. But then she found a photo on his phone that made her stomach turn. A picture of Rachel asleep on a couch, hair draped over her face, wearing his hoodie. It wasn't graphic, Evelyn wrote, but it was intimate. The kind of photo you don't take of someone you're just mentoring. She offered to send me the photo. I declined. I didn't need more proof. I had enough ghosts. But I did ask her for one thing. Would you be willing to say any of this publicly? She hesitated, then replied, "If you go first." It was the push I didn't know I was waiting for. Because suddenly this wasn't just about me anymore. It wasn't just about a ring or a closet or a draft folder full of poetry that painted me as a spineless glass figurine. This was a pattern, a history, and I wasn't the only broken piece in it. I called Claudia, told her everything. By the end of the call, we had a plan. We wouldn't use their names. We wouldn't even need to. Because sometimes, all you have to do is hold a mirror up to someone's image. and let them recognize the mess themselves. And Rachel? She was about to see hers. In full, unfiltered daylight. By the time I woke up the next morning, I wasn't Milton, the heartbroken husband, anymore. I was just Milton, the anonymous narrator of a post that had been shared across 6 forums, reposted on TikTok with dramatic piano music, quoted in long Facebook threads by people named Denise and Karen, and picked apart by internet detectives trying to guess who I was. But they didn't have to guess for long. Because Rachel outed herself. I never said her name. I made sure of it. But people talk. People compare timelines. Someone from her office saw the description of a certain corporate retreat and connected the dots. Within 48 hours, Rachel's carefully curated image, the motivational reels, the filtered book club selfies, the empowerment starts with you email signature started crumbling. She posted a statement. A long, overly professional, nauseating statement on her LinkedIn page. It has come to my attention that certain anonymous stories circulating online may be interpreted as referring to me or my personal life. These posts contain false narratives, partial truths, and mischaracterizations, and they threaten to undermine the work I've done to uplift and mentor others in professional spaces. I will not be engaging further. It got over 300 likes. A few dozen supportive comments from other girl bosses who said things like, "Stay strong, Queen flexed biceps, and haters gonna hate, keep shining." I wanted to scream. Not because she denied everything. I expected that. Not because she minimized what she did. That's her trademark. I wanted to scream because for a moment, it almost worked. People started calling me a liar in the comments. A bitter ex. A sad little man with a savior complex. One even said I sounded like the type who cries during Pixar movies and calls it emotional maturity. Which, okay, yes, I did cry during Inside Out. But that's not the point. The point was, I was losing control again. Until Haley stepped in. I hadn't spoken to her since the night of the party. I figured she was done with both of us. But late that afternoon, she texted me. "Check your email. I'm sorry I waited. I just couldn't watch her spin it again." I opened the file she sent. A voice memo. Rachel, in our old bedroom. Recorded the day before the party. She didn't know Haley had accidentally connected her phone to the shared smart speaker while it was recording. In the recording, Rachel was on the phone. With Kyle. And she said this. "No, I don't care anymore. He still thinks I'm planning a recommitment thing. Yeah, the ring's probably in his pocket already. I might fake tears, who knows. Then we'll see what happens after your promotion. If it goes through, I'm done. I'm not wasting another year pretending I care about his little feelings." I dropped the phone. That wasn't frustration. That wasn't a mistake. That was calculation. She had looked me in the eye for months, kissed me goodnight, laughed at my dumb jokes, made plans for us, all while quietly filing me away under temporary. I texted Haley back. "Are you okay sharing this?" Her reply was instant. "Post it." She made her choices. Now she can live with them. And so I did. No edits. No fanfare. Just the audio in one line. If you still believe she was mischaracterized, here's her, in her own words. It spread like fire in a dry forest. Rachel disabled her LinkedIn, then her Instagram. Then she disappeared. Not literally. I'm sure she was still out there, somewhere, trying to explain, trying to rebuild. But she was gone from my world. Finally, that night, I got an email from someone named Lauren. She said she used to date Kyle back in college. She had read everything, listened to the memo, connected her own dots, and then she wrote a sentence that will stay with me for the rest of my life. "You were never boring, Milton. You were just someone who didn't treat love like a performance. Some women don't know what to do with that until it's too late." I didn't reply right away, not because I didn't believe her, but because for the first time in years, I wasn't looking for someone to tell me who I was. I finally knew, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough. But then came the knock at the motel door, and when I opened it, I realized Rachel wasn't finished after all. She didn't knock like someone who felt guilty. That was the first thing I noticed. It was sharp. 3 firm taps, like she had something to prove, like I was the one who owed her an explanation. I opened the motel door slowly. Rachel stood there in dark jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. Her eyes looked tired. Not red, not weepy, just hollow. Like someone who'd been trying to hold up a mask for too long and had finally dropped it somewhere she couldn't find. She looked past me into the room, like she half expected Kyle to be there. I didn't move. I just stood in the doorway. I figured you'd be here, she said. You figured wrong, I replied. I checked out this morning. That threw her for a second. So, where are you staying? Somewhere I don't have to pretend I'm not drowning. She didn't respond. Just looked down at the cracked concrete beneath her shoes. I didn't come to fight, she finally said. I came because I think I lost track of what matters. I raised an eyebrow, and it took going viral for you to realize that. No, she said softly. It took you. That caught me off guard. I read everything. All of it. I kept thinking you were going to spin it. Exaggerate. Twist it to make me look like some monster. But you didn't. You just told the truth. Even when it made you look weak. Her voice cracked on the last word. I should have felt vindicated. I should have let that moment stretch out like a victory parade. But I didn't. Because for the first time in our entire marriage, I realized something. I didn't need her to apologize. I didn't need her to unravel, or cry, or collapse into some scene-stealing confession. I didn't need her to understand what she took from me. Because I had finally taken something back. Me. I'm not here to forgive you, I said gently. But I'm also not here to hate you. She looked confused. Maybe even hurt. But I meant it. You said I was safe. Predictable. That I didn't challenge you. And maybe that's true. But what you didn't see, what you never bothered to learn, was that I never needed to be loud to be strong. You just had to give me the space to grow. I stepped outside, past her, into the cool air. Rachel, I said, turning to her one last time, I don't wish you the worst. I just wish you the truth, even if you don't like what it shows you. Then I walked away. And this time, she didn't follow. 2 months later, I started writing again. Not posts, not revenge letters, just thoughts. Honest ones. A small blog under a pseudonym, mostly about moving on, rebuilding your identity after being someone else's ghost. It got traction. Then it got followers. Then one day, a publishing agent reached out. Said my voice was quietly devastating in the best way. I don't know what'll come of it. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. But a week after that, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Just a journal. Black leather. Familiar edges. Inside was a note in Haley's handwriting. Not everyone gets to burn the bridge and find a better one on the other side. You did. Proud of you. And taped to the inside cover, the ring. Not to keep. Just to remind me how far I'd come since giving it away. I closed the journal, set it on the shelf, and smiled. Because I didn't need a finale filled with fireworks, revenge, or public breakdowns. I got peace. And that was worth more than any ring ever was.